Since I started this channel a few weeks ago, many of you guys have been asking who ended my marriage. And I've been keeping my response pretty simple in the comments and just saying that in the end it was mutual. But I think I should go into greater detail because it wasn't always mutual. Welcome to my colorful life after a gray divorce. My name's Regan, also known as the Easy Ex-Wife. All right, so let's get into who ended the marriage. And like I said, in the end, it really was mutual, but I still would have fought for the marriage. But when one person is done, sometimes there's nothing you can do. But when I look back in retrospect, I saw some signs on our actual wedding day that didn't look so good, and I guess you would call them red flags. And if I'm being completely honest, there was really just one red flag that I saw on our wedding day, and he was a great boyfriend. We dated for, I think 4.5 years. Then we broke up for a year, which was the best thing we could have possibly done, and got back together, and he proposed a year after that. So in total, we were together over 5 years, but I had known him since high school. So a very long relationship. And I want to be as transparent as possible on this channel. I never want to go into huge details about what caused the divorce, but the red flag that I saw on our wedding day was I lost, do you know that you need something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. One of my best friends, one of my bridesmaids, had given me like a ring of her grandmother's and she put it on like this old, beautiful fabric, like doily or napkin or something like that. So she had it pinned on there and she said, here's your something blue, or no, something old. That was my something old. And I put it in my dress somehow. Anyway, during the pictures, I had taken it out and I put it down and I lost it. And it upset me and I got a little tearful over it. And you know, this is while we're taking pictures, and I just saw my husband at the time, we had just walked down the aisle and said our I do's. I saw him kind of shut down and not know how to react to it, instead of, you know, a typical like hug, I'm so sorry, let's look for it. Anyway, so that was one of the red flags, and that was something that I did see throughout our marriage. Like if I did get upset about something, it's not like he didn't handle it the wrong way. I guess he just didn't handle it the right way or the way that I needed him to. So if I was upset about something, whether it was something serious like a death or something smaller, if I shed tears and started to cry, he would always just try to cheer me up by telling a joke. Doesn't sound that horrible, but what I really needed was just a hug and a little bit of empathy. So I saw that throughout our whole marriage, and I pretty much learned how to deal with it. I just didn't cry in front of him, and which is not healthy. But if I was upset, I just put on a happy face, and what's the saying? You fake it till you make it. So I did that for a long time. But that does wear on you after a while. And if you've watched, I think it was my first video, I mentioned, you know, how long we were together. We were married about 27 or 28 years. I think we would in May be coming up on 29 years. Plus, you know, the 5 years of dating prior to that. Plus, I've known him since high school, so a long, long time. Lots and lots of history together. But even though I had learned how to deal with that, part of our relationship that I didn't love, I did learn how to deal with it. But when we really started having trouble, we had a couple boys, and we got through the teenage years, baby years, all that stuff, which, isn't easy, but, I think we did a really good job. And then when it came to be, I'll put this down because I'm just holding it, and now I'm just hitting my ring on it. After a little sip, my delicious tea. I hope you have some coffee or some tea to enjoy this little conversation. But anyway, it was, we just started to disagree about big subjects. One was the kids, the raising of the kids, and the other one was finances. So those were our two major things. And I think finances is like the number one thing that couples do fight about. And then along with that little vulnerability piece that I felt was missing on his end. So those were our three big things. And, when we really started to have trouble, it was when my oldest had just started high school, and we just did not agree on the parenting. And it really started to wear us down. And what would happen is we would disagree, we would fight about it. Sometimes I would give my opinion, and it just got shut down. So I felt like I just did not have a voice when it came to the raising of our kids or our finances. And it really took a toll. So we went back and forth, and we would smooth things out. We might fight for a little bit, then we would smooth things out and get lovey-dovey and try to do all the things that happy couples would do. But basically we were just sweeping our issues under the rug constantly. So it was this roller coaster where we would be on this high of doing really good, then we'd get in a fight about finances or kids, or a lot of times it was both things combined, and then we would spiral and we'd get in this bad place. And it seemed like we'd have like 2 months that wouldn't be so great, then we would make up and we would fight for the marriage and have a few weeks of it being great, and kind of like that honeymoon stage again, and then fight again. So completely toxic. But when you're in the throes of it, you try to normalize it so much. Because when I would go out with my girlfriends, they would talk about maybe the struggles they were having, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is normal. But it wasn't normal. It took its toll. It was really, really toxic for both of us. And the first round of marriage counseling, I remember him saying before we made the appointment, because we kind of, sorry, something's happening out there. We really had just exhausted a lot of our options trying to work things out together. So we agreed to go to marriage counseling, even though he said marriage counseling is the beginning of the end, which in our case, I guess it kind of was, but I know a lot of people who have gone through marriage counseling and have come out on the other end happy and in a healthy relationship. Granted, most of these people stay in marriage counseling and go, just once a week or go once a month, or just to keep the spark alive and keep things great, which I think is awesome. But anyway, first round of marriage counseling, things, we went in there just all joyful, and, I guess putting on a little bit of a show, like, oh yeah, our marriage isn't that bad. And we went for a few months, and we were going like every other week, I think. And sometimes he met with one of us just individually, and I felt like I opened up more in the individual sessions, and maybe my husband did too when he was, my ex, when he was by himself. And then we would meet together. And then we finally just decided, you know what, we're fine, we're good. But again, I think we were just sweeping things under the rug because we never walked through the fire. We never put everything out on the table when we were in therapy, which is what we should have done. So then we went for a while, years, and we were back on this. We're good, we're bad, we're good, we're bad. And then I said, you know what? If we want to save this marriage, we have to go back. And I said those exact words. We need to walk through the fire. Put everything out on the table. And I had a notebook and I wrote everything down. All the things that I thought we could fix, all the things that weren't going well, all the things about me that I knew he wanted to change, the things that I would love to see some change with. And I really 100% started working on myself because I thought I can just keep bettering myself, and that will help me be the human being that he wants me to be. And I was feeling good. I was feeling strong. My business was doing great. And we went back, and I was all ready to walk through that fire. I had my notebook ready to go. And he sat down, and we sat on like separate chairs. It wasn't like one big long couch that you think therapy is going to be like, at least not in this office. And as soon as he sat down, I looked over, and he was like this, kind of hunched over, arms folded, and he was not going to open up, at all. And I walked through the fire still. I thought, okay, well, maybe if he sees me walk through the fire, he'll walk through the fire. And I remember our counselor, his name was Max, saying, I'm here to help you either jump off the cliff together, which would be divorce, or help you step away from the cliff and work things out. And it was during one of my single sessions where I know a therapist is never going to tell you to leave someone, or that you two should break up and move on. But I knew that's what he was thinking, that we should end this marriage and move on. So he saw some signs that I guess he just didn't think it was salvageable. But me, being the eternal optimist, I kept thinking, no, we can work it out. Even though my ex was like, after that session, he's like, I'm done, I'm not going back. He didn't open up at all. And I knew the things that he needed to open up about, and it just was never going to happen. Never. And when we started talking about divorce on our own, this is outside of therapy, just the two of us, we would, something's going on with my camera. Let me just turn it off. I'll turn it right back on. Okay, and I'll take a little sip of tea. Anyway, so when we started talking the D word, do you guys remember, like if you're divorced out there, do you remember the first time someone brought it up? Oh boy, I do. And I just couldn't even believe I was in a marriage where that word was even spoken inside the walls of our home. But it was, and once it was on the table, it would come off the table, go back on the table. So again, we were going through that. But one thing we had agreed upon was, listen, if we've known each other for so long, we have so much history, nobody did anything horribly wrong. There was no cheating on each other, no stealing or anything like that. So we didn't have to work through those. We really just needed to work on communication and working as a team, which I still to this day will always think we could have fixed. But, takes two to tango. And so where was I going with this? Oh, so we had agreed to do an uncontested divorce, which means you just do mediation, you don't go through lawyers. Because this was a man, is still a man that I really, really trust when it comes to fairness and dividing of the assets and all that. I knew he wasn't going to hide things. And, even though some people said, don't be stupid, you need a lawyer. But we went uncontested. Everything was great. But before we sign the divorce papers, a judge has to sign off on it. And mediation was easy. We divided everything easily. I definitely think he gave me more than I probably would have gotten had we went with lawyers. So I do think that was his olive branch. I really do. I think that was his olive branch. And he's always said, I will always be here for you to help you out however you need me. So, things weren't going good, but we were still doing the roller coaster ride. And then my father passed away. Gosh, I can't believe it's been over 2 years since he passed. But my dad passed, and I wanted to be closer to my mom. My mom lives in New York. But we have a lot of family on the East Coast. So I said, listen, let's agree to separate. I'm going to go to New York for a little while. But everyone's going to understand. Your family will understand. My family will understand, because I want to be closer to my mom. And if you don't want to even mention separation to anybody, we don't have to. So we did that. And that was for, I think it was just 2 months. I got a place in New York, furnished apartment, and I felt like this weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I felt lighter. I just felt like I was in a better place. The knot in my back that I constantly had at home was just dissolving. It was almost like I could feel it dissolving as soon as I touched down in New York. And as the weeks went by, it got better and better. Then he picked me up at the airport after the couple months of I would say a trial separation. That knot came right back, which is just inflammation in my body. So something wasn't right. Came right back. We had a couple decent weeks, but then we just fell right back into that cycle and went back and forth for so long. And then, we were all ready. The mediation papers were all done. It was just ready to go to the judge, but it can take anywhere for 6 to 8 weeks before the judge signs off and you're officially divorced. Packed up, moved to New York, and we were chatting on the phone once a week. That was our plan, to just talk once a week. And while we were on the phone, it was one of the earlier weeks. I had just gotten here. We decided to pull our papers. We just weren't ready. We weren't ready for it to be official. Pulled the papers, stayed in touch with our mediator, and just let her know that, we were just pumping the brakes a little bit, just we weren't 100% sure. And then a few weeks later, we're get those papers back on the table, get them into circulation. And so we're back in the queue, waiting to be officially divorced. And it had been about 8 weeks. And I remember Marie, our mediator, said it should be any day now. And I panicked and I said, let's pull the papers. We're not ready. I'm not ready. And he's like, I'm ready. But if you're not ready, we can pull and we can, put this on hold again. Put it on hold again. And then, I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 weeks after that, we were on the phone and, he was like, what are we doing? What are we waiting for? Like, it's time. And I said, okay, it's time. And put him back, and a couple weeks later, it was official. We were divorced. So, yeah, it went back and forth for a while. But in the end, I guess we can say it was mutual. Repeating all that back to you guys just made this seem crazy and long and arduous. And you know what? At the time, it was horrible. It was the worst thing I've ever been through. And, I mentioned this in this video that my dad passed, but the divorce was so much worse. My dad, rest in peace. I love him so much. He was battling dementia and then was diagnosed with lung cancer. And he was in his 80s, late 80s. So he lived a long, wonderful life until the end. And when he passed, it was a little bit of a blessing for all of us because it took away his pain. And so I guess that's why the death wasn't as hard as divorce. Divorce was so hard because you have to make one of the most difficult decisions you're ever going to have to make in your life. So anyway, that's my little story. And I would love to hear from you guys. I hope my story did shine a little bit of a light on what I went through, what my ex and I went through together, how it all worked out in the end. But I want to hear from you guys. Did you talk about divorce and then it happened right away? Or was it a really long process like my own? I know sometimes going through lawyers, if it's a contentious divorce, it can go on for years and years and years. Are you still married and thinking about divorce? Are you separated? Yeah, let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. And I thank you so much for listening to my story today. And I can't wait to see you in the next video. What else? I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you guys to do all the things that help out this channel. Thumbs up, comment, smash the subscribe button, those kind of things. Anyway, regardless of what you do, I will see you next week. Have a great day. Love you. Mwah. Bye.